Well, look, even like with this Trump thing, man, it's like I was saying, how so many people still believe the Russia collusion story, which was all made up, man. And you can go follow this whole thing. It was all made up, and they knew it. They knew what they were doing. There's that clip, by the way, before any of this stuff. This is before Donald Trump ever took office. Did you ever see the Chuck Schumer 6 Ways to Sunday?
You were telling me about it last night. You were saying we should watch it today.
We should play this because and let me just preface it briefly to kind of set up what's so amazing about it. There are these occasional moments where, even like I said, the thing where Chris Murphy just happens to blurt out like, "Oh yeah, our policies overthrew Yanukovych," right? Like there are these moments where kind of like these rare moments of honesty from the kind of leaders of the regime.
Yeah.
And this one comes because Rachel Maddow asks him like an impromptu thing. And she says that. She leads that. Yeah. So, but this is just so you know, this is Donald Trump has been elected, but he hasn't been. He's a president-elect here. So it's after the election, but he's not president yet. So this was about him tweeting something here.
But he's taking these shots, this antagonism, this taunting to the intelligence community.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know, but from what I am told, they are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about them.
So, and what happened right before that is that Rachel Maddow goes, she goes, "All right, I'm sorry to put you on the spot here, but Donald Trump just tweeted this thing about the intelligence community. Any thoughts on that?" So it's not like he was prepared for this.
Right.
The most powerful senator in America, his initial gut reaction was like, "Well, dude, you're taking on the intelligence. I mean, you want to go up against the CIA? You think you're going to win that fight?
Yeah.
Like they're going to get you." And this was already after they had research that Hillary Clinton had funded, where she hired this British spy to go like dig up dirt on Donald Trump. And they put together this whole dossier alleging that he was, he had been in bed with Russia for years. He was compromised. It was that the prostitutes were peeing on him and all this like crazy shit. And they all knew it was unverified. They all knew it was like, all of it, almost all of it ended up being disproven. So when they went to Carter Page, but just to understand, like the idea of trying to bribe a low-level advisor on a campaign to then somehow take over the administration once he got, it'd be like on the level of if someone was like, we're going to bribe the door guy at the mothership to make sure that the Joe Rogan Experience only talks about these subjects. And you're like, I mean, even though there's a loose connection between you and the guy who works at the mothership, the idea that he would ever then be able to come in and take over the show and control, it just made no sense. But we now know that the CIA told the FBI that Carter Page was a good guy, that he was a CIA informant. Then so they told the FBI, they were like, no, he's not a spy. He's one of ours. So just lay off. And then the FBI lied about that on the FISA application. And this was the only guy who went down for the frame job, was this one FBI lawyer for misrepresenting what the CIA said. So basically, they said that he was approached by Russians, and that he was approached by a group of Russians to see if he would turn and work for them. And the CIA were like, yes, he was. And he came right back to us and told us about it. And then when they were putting in the application for the FISA warrant, the FBI said he was approached by these Russians and the CIA confirmed it. So they said that the CIA confirmed that he was approached by these guys, but they left out the part that the CIA said, and he came right back to us and told us about it. So that one guy was the only guy who got charged.
Did he get?
Because it was no jail time, but he did get charged.
Carter Page got charged?
No. The FBI agent the FBI lawyer who lied on the application.
Oh, interesting.
Carter Page, they had 3 FISA court warrants on him. They spied on him all up and down. Never been charged with anything because he wasn't a spy.
Right.
And Donald Trump, even now with all these charges, right? He's never been charged with treason. He's never been charged with inciting an insurrection, because they know they can't get him on those charges. So what they're getting him on is all these like novel legal theories. Well, it's not very clear that he violated NSA involved in any bulk data collection on American citizens. Said, no, we're not doing that. And then Ed Snowden came out and exposed that he clearly was. He was the DNI. Like, he knew this, okay? He lied to Congress. Why isn't he arrested for it? It's like, because there's no political will to arrest that guy. He's of the deep state. He's one of the top guys. He's not getting arrested. Now, Michael Cohen lied to Congress. He got a month wrong when he was talking about a deal that he was working on for Trump. He said it happened in June, but it was really in January or something like that. He got charged with that. And because they wanted to put pressure on him to get him to flip on Donald Trump, which he did. So it's not like there are crimes that are committed all the time. There's just no political will. There's no desire to arrest that person. And I think the thing that's wild about this with Trump is that if you think of all the crimes that presidents have committed, the idea that this is what one of them is actually going to go down for is insane. Like, Bush instituted torture. You know what I mean? Obama murdered American citizens without charges. These guys lied us into wars. By the way, every war is illegal. The supreme law of the land is the Constitution, and it says only Congress can declare war. The last declared war was World War II. Every war since then has been an illegal war. Anyone could be arrested for this at any time. The legal defense is that they're military actions, not wars. So you know that thing in Vietnam? It probably smelled like a war to you, but no, not a war. Korea wasn't a war. Iraq wasn't a war. Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, Somalia, Yemen, none of those were wars. It's anyone, if there was any political will, any one of these presidents could be arrested for any number of crimes. And yet they're not. But yet Trump didn't give back the classified information quickly enough, even after they asked him. Oh, he's got to be indicted for that. Even though other presidents have done pretty much the same thing, no, he's got to be indicted for that.
What is the Georgia thing is interesting because he was going to have a press conference where he was going to reveal all of the information that proves that he was telling the truth about the Georgia election being rigged.
Yeah,
and he didn't have the press conference.
Yes, well, this is a thing that I got to say is a kind of knock on Trump here that, this is a thing his lawyers, Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani, who just turned himself into custody today. But they would always say this after 2020. We have proof that millions of votes were stolen from Donald Trump and we'll be releasing this soon. And then it just never kind of comes. So I don't know what he thinks he's going to tell us about that. The issue with the thing in Georgia, where I will grant there's like a little bit of a gray area there. And I think that, look, there is a gray area there. It's kind of like when they impeached Trump over Ukraine. There was like a little bit of a gray area of like what exactly he did. It's just that when you look at things of all the crimes that presidents commit, the idea that you go after a president for this, it's so petty compared to these greater crimes. But like he called the Secretary of State in Georgia and was kind of like, I need you to find me these votes. But he was like, look, there's been fraud. I know there's been fraud. You got to go look for it. And the guy's like, I don't see any evidence that there's fraud here. And he's like, find it. I know there's fraud. He was putting pressure on the guy to go look. Right. But it's not as if he was telling the guy, I need you to commit fraud.
Right.
He wasn't telling him, I want you to flip votes or I want you to manipulate something. He's like, I want you to go find where the fraud is.
Right.
So you'd almost have to prove that he didn't really believe that.
Right.
In order to prove, because if there was really fraud, he has every right to tell the guy to go find it.
Right.
So now they're arguing that he didn't. And in the indictment, they argue that he knew it and he was, he knew that there was no fraud, but was still trying to get the guy to go find it. And the case that they're using to argue that is that he had advisors around him who told him that the election was legit. The problem with that is that doesn't prove at all that Trump believed those guys just because they told him that.
Right.
If there's one thing I'm fairly confident in, I believe Donald Trump believes he won the election in 2020.